Well, good morning. This is going to be for our second assignment. I'm sure all of you are missing school so much that you can't wait to dig into your textbook and get going on things. One of the areas that I've found in the last 3 years that we have been a little weak in our understanding of chemistry is we will get the concepts, but we lack the words to describe them. And in the written portion of the AP exam, it's critical to be able to use the correct vocabulary to convey your ideas because the AP exam is scored in the summertime. It's actually being scored right now from last spring's exams by people who have never heard or read anything that you've done before. For chemistry, it's mostly college professors, so they really want to see you use the proper vocabulary. So this is a strategy that we're going to use throughout the year to learn and retain and connect vocabulary, and it's called a Frayer model. The basics of the Frayer model are that you start off with the term. So when you begin reading your book, you'll pick the term that makes sense to you. Then you add the definition in one corner of the paper. Now, this definition can come from the textbook, it can come from context, it can come from your glossary, it can come from dictionary.com, but make sure it's the appropriate chemistry-related definition. Then you want to give characteristics of that term. So these are ways that you'll help remember it based on the parts of it, and we'll see an example in a second. The third part of this are examples. One of the things you'll find throughout the year in chemistry is that we'll repeat a lot of the same things over and over and over again. So knowing examples is going to help you connect them, and hopefully with luck, some of the examples you choose may be the context that they show up in on the AP exam. And lastly, we want to show some non-examples. One of the easiest ways to remember things is to classify them by what they are not. So by choosing and listing some non-examples, it helps us differentiate terms. Sometimes during the school year it becomes so difficult to keep track of which term meant what thing, and by knowing the opposites, it helps us to keep the positives as well. So let's walk through an example. We'll start with a term that you should know from biology last year, photosynthesis. The definition of photosynthesis is the process where plants and algae convert carbon dioxide of water into sugar and oxygen using light from the sun. So the word photo, the word root photo, this means light, and the synthesis means to create. So this is the creation of sugar using energy from the sun. And then with the definition here, a lot of times throughout the year, once we start to learn how to do chemical equations, you'll be able to give an example equation as well. So our characteristics, things that we know are photosynthesis. The solar energy is stored as chemical energy. There's going to be a negative carbon footprint because it's removing carbon dioxide from the environment. And this requires chloroplasts to be present in the cell. Chlorophyll is the chemical that helps this happen, and chloroplasts are the part of the cell where it's contained. So examples of photosynthesis are fruits being sweet from this process. So any fruit or vegetable that you taste with a sweetness, you're tasting the sugars left over from photosynthesis. Green leaves are going to be an indication that there's chlorophyll active in the plant. And there's actually different versions of chlorophyll, and that's why you'll see leaves change color in the fall, is as the chlorophyll stops being produced, it goes to other colors of chlorophyll and other chemicals that can do this process. And a third example is algae in the ocean or in Lake Michigan produces oxygen, and that oxygen is dissolved in the water, and that's how fish breathe underwater, as their gills pull the dissolved oxygen out of the water. Non-examples, this is not done by animals. Cellular respiration is the opposite process, where sugar is broken down and releases the energy, and the Krebs cycle is part of the process where this happens. So this week's assignment will be to make a copy of the slideshow for yourself and to go through a chapter in the text and choose the vocabulary you think is important and create your Frayer models for that vocabulary. And then you'll share that back to me when you're done. And I'll have details listed on the Google Classroom about exactly which chapter. So I hope this is helpful and that you understand how to do these. If you don't, please feel free to email me. You always have that option throughout the summer. Have a good week.